So it's December, and I don't mean it's December in our hearts and minds. I mean it's actually cold as December, as of recording at least. And we're at the end of the year and the start of the winter, and I'm feeling the seasonal mood swings a little earlier than usual, which is fine, rather now than in February. And hey, maybe there's something good on the horizon. Oh god, I'm delusional. Anyways, to combat this late year slump, I decided not to do the hip, cool, and ultra popular thing to do by making this state of mind worse, consuming myself in a state of unchanged self-sabotage. Doing the same shit, and decided to start small by giving a shake up to my recent listening habits. Decided to revisit an album I apparently overlooked. Well, kinda. So I was out shopping the other night, midway through listening to a certain Jimmy Eats World album. This is foreshadowing. Feeling like a carrot in water in front of an elderly couple who both, for some reason, had insanely chapped lips, when my eyes met with a pack of devours in a frozen aisle, as I let out a squeal of mixed emotions, mostly surprise and nostalgia for what I assume is a subpar, if not awful, frozen meal. I wouldn't know, I never had them. But I do remember the tagline, food so good it makes you fuck or something. I wouldn't know, I can't remember. What the hell am I talking about? I'm not sure yet. But it's only when I got into my cold ass car and started to make my way back home, driving fast with the heat on my ass, that I noticed I had changed my music to something totally different, and it was Mexico by Simeon. Alright song, subpar band. But after I turned that off and went into my daily listen playlist and hit shuffle, I found myself pleasantly surprised by World Invitational from the band Rival Schools. It's an upbeat reggae infused post-hardcore track that's very buzzy and has a positive message to it. And my daily dose of depression. Who touched my shit? I said in a tizzy, and then I remember, oh yeah, I did this. Then proceeded to, much like in that store, let out a squeal in my room at night about 13 more times for 43 minutes. Seriously though, this is probably the first time where I found the beauty and the ugly of having just one big playlist for everything versus having a mood-based playlist or a genre-specific list. Because, well, you get moments like this. Rival Schools, the band, not the PS1 game it's based off of. It's true, look it up. The music sinks in with the gameplay, I swear. Isn't bad by any stretch of the word, but somehow in its 2,500 plus song playlist somehow becomes much like that Devour or a piece of chicken that's been stuck in your teeth for like a week. A nice reappearance at an unexpected time. I told you I was cooking. But other than a good night listen and a minor spike of dopamine, I found that in the morning I had completely forgotten the album, save for like 3 songs, which some might say is normal but doesn't match up for what I recall as a skip list album experience. Something wasn't adding up. I first came across Rival Schools probably the same way most people did, by accident after listening to Quicksand, one of the many projects helmed by Walter Schreifels. It came at a time when I was looking to expand my horizons and what I listened to, and it seemed like a no-brainer. Being familiar with the band's contemporaries like Burning Airlines and the short-lived New End original, not to mention the frontman's former work Quicksand, again, it felt only natural to check out the album, and on the first listen, I loved it. Probably not as much as most, but at the very least, I thought it was mediocrely good, which is essentially like telling someone they should be grateful you puked on their shoes and not their shirt after they fed you. And for about a couple of years, it sat in the back of my mind like a geo waiting to be broken. Post-hardcore is a genre that needs no introduction to the selection of my viewership aggressively pleasing their out-of-print first edition repeater vinyl, but to my vi-curious viewers, I was trying to switch bi and vi, but it only makes me like think of Dracula in an interview. But to the uninitiated, post-hardcore is a derivative of hardcore, an offshoot of the punk genre, and is the more plain Jane sibling to the hot and wild post-punk. Post-hardcore albums are usually punk rock, but it's on 11. It's crunchy peanut butter with a whole ass peanut. It's abrasive, more raw, at times melodic, but tries to stick to the conventional sound of punk with an addition of being a little more abstract noisy. It's a sound mostly synonymous with Washington DC, but has never really been strictly shackled to it, with scenes popping up all over in Chicago, Texas, San Diego, and each giving rise to their own brand of post-hardcore. The influence was/still is undeniable, but by the early 2000s, it seemed it wasn't really cool to be straight anymore. Straight post-hardcore, that is. With the DC scene being basically past its heyday, the best hardcore was no longer in DC. I want to preface this by saying I like beef. Rival Schools is an alternative band with hardcore undertones. It's possible for two things to be true at once, but the truth always gets top bunk. Also, I like beef. Releasing on September 4th of 2001, the album was the band's first following a string of EPs that mostly kind of felt like testing the waters with United by Fate, One Line Drawing, and Rival Schools. Sounding reminiscent of Slint and Rodin, it eventually became a gathering of a bunch of Schreiffel's former bandmates from Quicksand and other small projects that he was a part of, which ultimately makes Rival Schools feels like a super team that no one asked for but turned out to be good. Maybe the Thunderbolts? Maybe. Opening the album is the loud "Babe, Please Take Me Back" anthem. Travel by Telephone. It's immediately apparent that Schreiffel's voice is a lot more raspy and husky compared to his time doing Quicksand, but that's not the only thing that has matured, or shall I say grown. The chord progression seems to have become more vibrant and fun compared to what was being done during Quicksand. And yes, let me get this off my chest now. I'm not a big fan of Quicksand. Shocker! Slip in particular. It's a couple of reasons, mostly because they offer nothing different than other equally popular bands in the scene didn't already offer. That, and they turn my hamster racist. United by Fate isn't that. Its less aggressive approach makes it feel a bit refreshing but a little repetitive at times. With tracks like High Octane, The Switch, and My Echo feeling a bit tonally similar at times to an almost lazy degree, progressing in similar ways, but they didn't forget to be entertaining tracks. That's not something that I can say that Slip really did. Personally, even in moments where the instruments are feeling a little soggy, the pen more than makes up for it. Everything has a point to it comes to mind. A down-tempo, bass-heavy song that loves to screech at you. It's a rounded routine type of track with nothing on the instrumentation side of things really blowing your socks off. It's carried by the lyrics themselves. It's not very vocally varied. Schreiffel's vocal range could be described as emphatic wheezing to energetic morning voice with a mouthful of Cheerios, but that doesn't take away from anything on the album. The definite high point in vocal performance being a bit breathy and at times shaky when it gets to the chorus. Schreiffel's putting on a little more emphasis in his words and dragging them a bit. The album is a bit life-sick, with a lot of the lyrical content alluding to the same rigmarole of usual things in the genre. Alienation, love, powerlessness. It's mostly presented in this safe way, like it's scared to commit deeply to one idea, or more so like it's trying to meet to these conventional standards of more tender indie music of the era, leaving it feeling a little risk-averse. You get me? It's almost like Schreifel saw the future in that aspect, with the songs being filled with this verbal spewage reminiscent of indies, coded in an emo dialect to keep the hardcores interested. It's impressive how well concealed the acoustics are on the album in general, but Undercovers On in particular took me a couple of listenings to finally catch where it started and where it faded. There's a marriage between the acoustic and electric happening on this album, and it turns out it's pretty abusive. Many moments does the acoustic set up the tone just for the electric to give it a god before a liver punch and gets the bass/rhythm guitar to join in front of it. Like on Good Things and my favorite track off the album, World Invitational. The presence of the acoustic gives very little depth to the track. Instead, it plays a background role, much like the bass, giving the chirpy electric guitar the spotlight, and it makes for an excellent execution of melodic harmony. Everything just feels right on these tracks, and it shows off the refinement of Schreifel's career. Melodic is the word of the day. And melodic this album is. It has a crafted abrasiveness that festers in the head that makes the low points good head nods and the high points veins in throat, hands pulling on shirt as your voice screeches from your body strain as people look at you confused whether you need a doctor or you're just tweaking. No song represents this more than the big single off the album, Used for Glue. This song is so goddamn jumpy in a good way, with the noisy, well, not just guitar but everything feeling a little shoegaze inspired, are we? It's an empowering raise your fist and bash your head affair that lets it all out. It's raw but polished, fast but paced, and just fun. And I love the little trip hop breakdown that it has in the little, in the hook. Okay, I'm done. The formula for this album must have been invoke everything, because the ideas and influences are a little bit everywhere, but it's done in a way that you don't notice or really mind. It just creates this moment of shock for me that there was no room commercially for this album, being how sprawled it feels. It's not too emo, it's not too hardcore, it's not too poppy, but it's all melodic. It's a bit of a bukkake shoot. As the album comes to a close, it really just kind of slows down. I really like Favorite Star, but that doesn't make it not adventurous. It's pretty routine, but like a good majority of the album, it has enough going with the noise, you kind of just forget about what bores you. And So Down on Sound just sounds like The Pillows to me. Like, I can't think of which song, which is like really becoming a common thing. I need to really like do my research, listen to a whole fucking discography and be like, hey, that specific song so I can sing you guys. Maybe I'll do that in post. No, I don't think I will. Maybe I'll do that in post. Editor, if I find out what song this is, okay, you can leave all of this in here. If I find out what song, this is me talking to you too, but show the audience that I'm talking to you, so they actually know I'm putting effort into this. If I find that song by The Pillows, the J-Rock band, the great J-Rock band, The Pillows, and send it to you, put it on screen, and I don't know what I gained from this. And Hooligans for Life closes the album. It's a dull closer that really reinforced it was everything in tandem that made me enjoy the album. I'm just gonna be honest, at first I didn't have much to say about the album originally, and I don't mind repeating myself again. It was not a bad album, it was just good. A shrug of the shoulders and go about your day kind of thing. But after listening to it again and again and again, it kind of sticks to your brain, like a tumor, but quickly fades with tracks laying in wait for a perfect time to come and tickle you with a dose of dopamine before it leaves you again, making you realize it probably was cancer. This album was a payoff of a decade's worth of work, and it damn well should be. When you spend most of your career chasing the sound like it's a phantom, the end result better be one we talk about for a decade or two. It's a pretty even-handed listen with nothing really outshining another. It's rather safe in hindsight, but it wasn't trying to be anything other than melodic. Yay! I said this is the word, guys! Here's the part where I lose all credibility. Look at me. Now, look at me and tell me with a straight face after listening to Jawbox, Minor Threat, or even something more of his time like At the Drive-In, and tell me that this is pure post-hardcore. It feels almost alien compared to them. It's too melodic, too almost made to appeal to a large market degree. I know that might sound a little gatekeeperish, but if you guys haven't noticed, I'm not some super aficionado who knows everything about everything, and I don't try to pretend to be. Wing it is my philosophy, or more accurate, fake it, at least when it comes to music. Something as accessible as music shouldn't be mired with levels of understanding to enjoy it, so I say keep things defined but simple. Ultimately, it comes down to brainwashing. I remember it being mediocrely good and subjecting myself to a non-stop goon sesh of listening to this on repeat, and everything just fell into place. Not for Rival Schools the band, but my enjoyment of them. Going from okay to solid to good to deceptively overlooked is probably the first band I feel I've looked at that anyone who's not just hardcore emo / punk listeners can really get into and find an appreciation for, especially with their later works, not only being more sleek in presentation but ambitious in fusing hardcore with pop elements and the mission of fulfilling the melodic singularity. It's a job well done, even if it has a bit of spicy ketchup on the corner. Based on the game by Capcom, I swear to God, bro, just look it up. Oh, okay. All right, that's the video. So thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, it's probably been a while. I don't know. Oh man, it's a lot has really happened, dude. I hit like 200 recently. That's insane. I'm trying to get the videos out at a more frequent rate. Kind of like it's like right before New Year's. So like, oh, dude, I don't know what to expect in the new year. Hopefully something good. I don't know. Maybe. Excuse me. I had a certain friend of mine tell me I burp too much in these videos. But yeah, maybe next year I can be more consistent with the way I go about this. But I'm still new, still figuring out everything, like still figuring out outros. Like need to start writing these things out instead of just winging it and saying anything, because they could be long and spiraling. But ultimately I just say do these to say thank you for watching. I don't like saying like and subscribe because I don't really, I mean, I do kind of care if you watch, because eventually, stop cat, please, thank you. I kind of, want to eventually, do what you want. If you like these videos, like them. If you feel like you want to come back and subscribe, definitely leave a comment. And yeah, just thank you guys for watching. Bye.